All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. Just making sure that I can hear what's going on. Okay. Hey, everybody, and welcome to part 7 of the Origin Code Academy walkthrough series for the prep course or pre-work material. Last week we finished up Node 100, which was the intro to JavaScript and programming with Node.js. Excuse me. And so this week we're jumping into jQuery, and we're actually in the last course in the pre-work program, Web 101. So this is the last of the free courses. After this, if you were a student at Origin, you'd be diving into the rest of the main curriculum. Otherwise, if you haven't joined us at Origin, then this is pretty much the extent of the free content, and we'll get through about the first two sets of exercises today. So we'll get through level 2 and level 3 exercises, and then probably get into working with the DOM and level 4 exercises in the next video, next week in the next webinar. So if you are just joining us for the first time, if this is your first webinar, then you can always feel free to use the chat section, which should be over to the right-hand side of the screen. And you can ask any specific questions that you have about the material as you're going through, or as we're going through today. And then, as always, questions about Origin Code Academy and the program itself, you can throw those in there, and I'll either address them right in the beginning, or right as you ask them, or I'll wait till the end and kind of answer all those questions. But yeah, feel free to use that chat channel, ask any questions about the material that we're going through. And otherwise, I'll start with, Antonio, so you're on level 4. Maybe we can do a sneak preview if we get through the first part of the agenda today. If we get through level 2 and 3, maybe we can take a peek at level 4. Otherwise, this will be a good refresher for level 2 and level 3. We'll start by going through just the written lesson. Most of the material for jQuery will come from this written lesson here, and and then the rest are actually videos. Yeah, so like jQuery selecting elements, hierarchy selectors, these are all videos, as you can see. So the only written content for this jQuery lesson is the first one. So we'll be referring back to this a lot today, as we need to. So what is jQuery? jQuery is a JavaScript file that you include in your web pages. It's pretty much a bunch of JavaScript that somebody already wrote and packaged up really nicely and made it as small as they can, and you can easily throw it into your web pages. And it allows you to select elements from the DOM, or the document object model, using a CSS-like syntax. And then it also has several methods that you can call and perform actions on those selected elements. So selectors and actions, pretty much. And first we have selectors. You have seen this before in our CSS lesson. You can select the element just by its name, P or paragraph button. You can use the hashtag for elements that have specific IDs. In this case, select the first element with an ID of page. And then the dot or class symbol can be used as well to select elements. You can combine the two. So here we just have a regular element selector and then the class selector chained to it. And it will just make sure that if something had the class btn that wasn't a button, it would not be selected. So it's just a way to be more specific there. Combining selectors, so you can select all elements with the ID page and with the class button. So there's a few basic selectors. Then you can modify those selectors. Well, here actually, so the combined selector uses a comma, and then the descendant selector just uses a space. And so we can see that our ancestor is the outer container, or the parent element, and then all of these descendants are children, or they're within the ancestor. So this will only select the this will only select the descendants who are within the parent ancestor ID. There's a little bit of a typo here. This should be ID in the example instead of class, but it's correct here. So it selects all of the divs with the class descendant only if they are descendants of this first selector, which happens to be the ancestor, or the div with the ID of ancestor. So that's hierarchy, kind of selecting children and parents. Another way to select child is to actually use the greater than symbol or the right angle bracket. The child selector is used when you want to select all the immediate children element of a parent element. Children elements. So this would select all the LI elements within the UL element. So immediate children. So you can see that all the LIs that are directly below the UL are selected. However, there's an LI nested within this other LI, and that would not be selected because it's not an immediate child. It's actually a child of the child of UL. Sibling selectors is used when we want to select. So like these two LIs are siblings. And in the example, these two LIs are siblings as well. Sibling of the foo element. Okay, so it will not select the foo, but it will select the bar as long as it's a sibling of a list item with the ID of foo. So if this did not exist, this would not be selected. However, since it's a direct sibling and it's under the same parent, then the plus sign will allow you to select just the list item with the ID of bar. Selection filters, you can filter the elements you have selected in jQuery by using filters. So it's just a way to be even more specific. So we've seen this angle bracket before. The LIs will only be selected that are children of the ULs. And in this case, we want to be more specific and say just grab the first child that is an LI element that is a child of the UL element. So pretty self-explanatory. Last will grab the last child, or the one that renders last or appears last in the list. Even is kind of cool. It selects only the even ones, so 0. Everything in code pretty much starts with a 0 base or 0 index. And so this would, 0 is even, 2 is even, continuing on 4, 6. It would select all those. And the opposite of that, odd, would select the odd indexed elements. And so 1, 3, 5, 7, etc. You can be specific. You can say I want to grab specifically the first index. So all the list items that are children of ULs, I just want to grab exactly the LI that has the index of 1. So this is where the index equals, or EQ, equals 1. Greater than, or GT, or greater than, kind of does the same thing, except it will select anything that's greater than the index that you pass it. And so 2 and 3 and so on are greater than 1, so everything after 1 will be selected. Less than is obviously the opposite of that, and we'll select anything that's less than the index of 2. So list item 2, everything less than that gets selected. Nth child is another way similar to equals, I believe, except equals, greater than, less than, and equals use the index, and the nth child actually does not use the index. If you select the second child, then it will actually select the second child and not the second index, pretty much, which would actually be the third. So, oh yeah, here we can see that there's 2 unordered lists now. one with 2 list items and one with 3. Both of the second items are selected. So yeah, that will come in handy. First child is another way of saying, hey Ted. So if you have never started with the pre-work and we're covering topics that are farther than you have advanced in the program, then you can actually go to the YouTube channel and look up Origin Code Academy, and all of the previous webinars are on there in a playlist called Origin Code Academy Prep Course Walkthrough Series. I'll just go ahead and show you as a quick aside. If this material is too advanced and you haven't gotten to this section yet, then you can always just do a quick search for Origin Code Academy in YouTube and select our channel, and then under playlists, there's the OCA Prep Course Walkthrough Series, and we have all the previously recorded webinars, and so you can get started there if you're just starting with the pre-work. Otherwise, you're welcome to listen and listen along with this lesson if you think it'll be helpful in the future. However, this will also be uploaded to YouTube after the video tonight, and you can always come back and watch it when you get to this section. So I'd say for you, Ted, head to YouTube, check out the first webinar, and just keep cranking on the pre-work. So first and last child are another way to, instead of saying, nth child 1, and that would give you the first child, this is just another shorthand way of saying that. And then you don't always know how many elements are in your list, and so this is a quick way to say last child, and it will grab the last element no matter how many elements are in the list. So those are some cool filters. Attribute filters are useful when you need to select based on their attributes. So attributes are like name. Okay, thanks, Ted. Let's see. Yeah, HTML elements can have many different attributes, such as type, name, href, that type of thing. And we can select by those. So in this case, we're selecting just based off the name. And you can do a few modifiers there. So here we're just checking to make sure that the name equals email. Here we're making sure that the name does not equal email. So it'll select any inputs where the name doesn't equal email. The caret is a way to say the name starts with E. The $ is shorthand for saying that the attribute needs to end with a specific letter. And the star is kind of a wildcard selector, and it will get all the inputs where whatever you have here, as long as it's contained somewhere in that attribute value. Okay, so here's some of these examples. So here we have an input with a name attribute, and the value of that attribute is email. So that gets selected by number 1, not by 2 because it does equal email. It gets selected by 3 because it starts with an E. It also ends with an L, and it contains the word mail. Here the name is expense amount, so it only matches 2 of the queries. It doesn't equal email, and it also starts with E. And lastly, it brings us to form filters. Form filters are specifically useful when you need to select input elements based on their input type. So when you're filling out a form, the input elements can have a type. Checkboxes obviously appear as checkboxes, and password will, when you type in your password and it's kind of hidden, that all you see is dots, you don't see the characters. That's your browser reads the attribute off of that input element, sees that it's password, and it knows to transform the characters into dots instead of the actual characters. And so you can select by that too, just by simply putting a colon there. And so here, your username is of type text, and so you can select all the inputs that are of type text that way. The password, input, password, and then checkbox, checkbox. So that's a little bit of an overview. We might need to come back and reference this document as we move into the exercises, but let's go ahead and get started with the level 2 exercises. So, well, I guess here they're called level 1 exercises. But the first set of exercises is basically about basic selectors. So what's our exit criteria? All jQuery must be written in main.js. Gotcha. We'll go ahead and hit start. Write jQuery to select all elements. Okay. Write jQuery to select all div elements. And okay, so let's just go down the line. First, in order to select all elements, you could say something like that, I believe. We'll just say are all elements, and we'll use the $ as our jQuery keyword. So that should select all. Now we need to write jQuery to select all div elements. So we'll say var div elements equals jQuery. And then here we can just use the element selector, not a class or an ID or anything. We just use the word div. And now select all elements with the block hover class. And so we've seen hover equals jQuery, and this time we'll use the class selector and select the class block hover. All right, next, select the block 1 element. Let's go take a look at that. So this one has an ID of block 1, so we'll use the ID selector, which, if you remember, is the same as CSS, and is the pound symbol or hash symbol. And that was block 1. And finally, we need to select both the block 1 and block 2 elements. So blocks 1 and 2 equals jQuery. And first we'll select the block 1, which have ID of block 1. And we'll also select block 2. All right, so, oh, we didn't need to write the declarations, but let's just make sure. So I didn't quite get the block 1 and block 2 element. So that didn't seem to work. What's another way that we could select block 1 and 2? So we could use a child selector. So let's say we want to select all the divs that are children of the body, and we want to select everything less than the second index here. Let's see if that'll work. Blocks 1 and 2. We'll go body, and then the children of that is a div, and we can say nth child, or sorry, we can say less than 2. Is that gonna work for us? Not gonna work. Well, apparently a comma will do the trick. Thank you very much, Antonio. All right. So if we go back to our lesson, actually, let's go on. There we go. Okay, yeah. So the combined selector uses the comma to select all elements with the ID of page and elements. Okay. So the comma will select multiple elements. Now I think, oh shoot. Oh, so I think the server restarted. No problem. Okay. So we'll just have to run through that one. Oh no, it let us pass. Okay, so that's good. All right. So that was basic selectors. And now we're moving on to hierarchy selectors. So what's our exit criteria here? Again, we have to write everything in main.js, easy enough. Using the descendant selector, write jQuery to select all P elements that are descendants of the section ancestor element. So let's take a look at that. Looks like we have a section with the ID of ancestor, and we need to select all of the P or paragraph elements that are descendants of that element. And so if we just go back and refresh ourselves about descendant selectors, here's where we use the space. So I was mistaken in the beginning. Thanks again, Antonio. You're already catching on, man. It's great. So yes, now the descendant selector, you just use the space, and it will select the second element as long as it's a child or a descendant of the parent element, which is in the first place here. Good point, Christopher. That's crazy, guys. So all jQuery, so using the descendant selector, write jQuery to select all P or paragraph elements that are descendants of the section ancestor. And all you need to do is write the selection code. So we can disregard declaring our variables, and now we can just write the actual jQuery. To select, but first we need to call our section with the ID of ancestor as the parent, and then that needs to be a $. And then we need to select all divs who are descendants of that, of the ancestor. Sorry, P. Select all P elements. And after that, we need to, using the child selector, write jQuery to select all list item elements that are children of the UL parent. So it's going to look similar. First, we need to select the parent, which is UL parent, and then the children who are like direct descendants of the parent. Here we can see that the P's are not direct descendants of the section. They're actually children of the div, which is a child of the section. So these are called descendants because they're not directly nested within the parent. However, now we want to select all the LI elements who are directly children of the parent element. And so we'll use the child selector, which is the angle bracket. So then we can just use the element selector for LI, and that should satisfy the second exit criteria. And third, we need to use the sibling selector to select the fourth element as a sibling of the third. So jQuery, the li fourth is our sibling, and we want to actually select. We want to select the third. We want to select the fourth as a sibling of the third. And so we're telling it first to look for a third, and then we're saying it should have a sibling with the ID of fourth next to it. Let's give that a test. So there seems to be some discrepancy between the tests and our lesson. So let's take a look at the jQuery documentation for sibling selectors. There we go. Okay, so it looks like both are actually valid. The plus sign reaches only the immediate following sibling element, and this one will reach all the following sibling elements. And so in this case, our test, let's take a look at the third and fourth. Third and fourth are direct siblings, so we could technically use the plus sign. However, the test is written specifically to look for the tilde or squiggly line sign. Okay, so now we have all of our test passing for hierarchy selection. Now we can move on and see what's in level 3. All right, now we're going to be using basic filters. So let's go take a brief look at these filters that we're going to be working with. Okay, so we have selection filters, first, last, even, and odd, equals the index, greater than the index, less than the index, and as well as selecting children, more specifically first and last children. And then we have filtering by attributes and also form values. Okay. All right, let's see if we can knock this one out. All right, write jQuery to select the first movie in the unordered list. So looks like we have a list, an unordered list with a couple of movies in them, and we want to select the first li within this ul. So one way we could do that is just to say ul and then li first. Oh, wait. First child. Next, we need to write jQuery to select the last movie. So we saw that in the example. This should be pretty straightforward. ul, then we'll select the li that is the last child. Right, ul, li, yep. And then select all even indexed movies. So again, we'll be using the ul and then children of that, but only the even children. After the even, it wants us to select the odd. So there's a little bit of a pattern here. We'll just kind of keep going down the line. And then we want to select the fourth movie. So we can use the maybe nth child one. And we can just say 4. So we'll go li nth child and give it the number 4, since the child goes off of not the index, but the actual number of elements that are on the page. After selecting the fourth movie, we need to select the top 5 movies. So we could say anything less than the 5th index, and that should give us the top 5. So we can use our less than LT and give it a less than the index of 5, which would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would select everything before this index. So it should give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the first 5. And finally, we need to select the bottom 5 movies. And so what's the best way to do that? We know that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 movies. And so we could do pretty much the opposite of what we just did and say greater than the index of 5, I believe. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or maybe we want to say 1, 2, 3. I believe that's going to satisfy that test. Let's just make sure. Guess we missed. It's like we missed something. Yeah. So it's supposed to be yeah, what is the... Let me just copy this. Did we miss something here? Let's give it a refresh. Huh. Forgot the first part of the exit criteria. Good point. All right, now we should be looking a little better. Hopefully our function gets called. Okay, so my syntax was a little off. It's just first, not first child. So we're passing a few more of the tests now. However, oh, that's child. Yeah, should be 3. Still a little off here. It's child. First, last, even, fourth movie. Dark Knight. Child. 0, 1, 2, 0. What doesn't like about that? Okay, I guess we'll think of a different method to select. Um, the fourth one, we could select. Let's try to use the equals selector. Um, yeah, we'll try to use the equals instead. All right, so now we've passed that. However, we are not selecting the bottom 5 movies. So let me just plug this guy in. All right. Okay, so for the last one, to select the bottom 5 movies, we just needed to go greater than the 4th index, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, everything past 12 Angry Men. So that would give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So the greater than and less than go off the index. And now we can actually move on. So after basic filters, now we're at child filters. So this looks like a few less exit criteria than the last exercise. Define a function called getMovie. We'll make sure we get that one nailed this time. We'll be writing our code in there. So first, write jQuery to select the name of all movies using the first child filter. So let's take a look at our HTML. Looks like we have a table with t-head and a table row that has the header's name and released. And so in our t-body, each row has the name and the year it was released. Okay. So write jQuery to select the name of all movies using the first child select filter. So the name appears within a TD or table data element, and we can see that it's the first child of our TRs here. And so here we have a TH, which is also the first child of the TR. So we don't want to select this one. So we just want to select all TDs that are first children of our TRs, or table rows. So first we'll do that. We use jQuery, and it was TR was the parent, and then we want to select all TDs that are first children of those TRs. So TD, first child of our TR, TD, first child of our TR. So that should satisfy that piece of the exit criteria. Next, write jQuery to select the year of all movies using the last child. So that's going to be almost identical. We're going to select all of our TDs who are the last children of our TRs. And finally, write jQuery to select the name of the fourth movie using the nth child filter. So, select the name of the fourth movie. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we have Dark Knight. And the way we could get that is by saying that this TR is the fourth child, or nth child, 4 of our T body. And so let's give that a try. So first, our parent is T body, and then we want to select the TR that is the fourth child. So TR that is the nth child, and this will actually be 3 since it's index based. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3 would actually give us the fourth row. And then I'm just going to kind of go for it here. I'm not entirely sure if we can say then TD first here like that, but we will give that a try. That did not work. So I didn't call the function. Not sure if that's going to be the issue. No, it didn't like that at all. So, oh, okay. So it wants us to be extremely more specific, and start selecting all the way from table. All right, so table, T body, okay, so we'll just go ahead and do that for all of them. We'll make it way more specific. Table, T body, TR, TD last. Okay, so now we'll go table, T body. We're still having an issue here. So select. Oh yeah, and here it wants us to use last child. If you ever are just stumped and you think your code should be working, you can try to just look in the errors here and see that it expected table, T-body, TR, TD last, which is what I put. And what it was expecting was table, T-body, TR, TD last child. And so that's kind of a helpful place to look if you're ever stuck. It kind of sometimes tells you what the test is expecting, and you can quickly see that, oh yeah, I'm just missing the dash child here. So we'll give that another test. And looks like now we just have one final test not passing. And why is that? So it's expecting table, T-body, TR, and child 3. to equal nth child 4 and TD first child. Okay. All right, so we worked through that one a little bit by taking a look at the error boxes and just working through those as we went through. So you'll find that a lot of times when you're writing code in general, there's a lot of ways to write the same thing and get the same result that are valid ways of writing the same method. And so oftentimes you just kind of have to play around with it, and then luckily those errors came in handy there. So that was a little bit about child filters. Let's see what's next. Attribute filters. Okay, so first we'll hit start, and we have our index.html populated, and it's asking us to define the function getInput. jQuery to select all inputs where the name. Okay, so write jQuery to select all inputs where the name attribute equals first name. So we have several inputs, and it looks like only one has a name attribute equal to first name. Let's actually really quickly just take a look back at the lesson. And now we're dealing with attribute filters. So we can see that we select them by saying input, and then in brackets, the name of the attribute and the value that we're expecting. All right. Okay, so function getInput, and first we're going to select all inputs where the name, so input, bracket where the name equals first name. Pretty straightforward. Next, jQuery to select all inputs where the name does not equal first name. Okay, so it's going to be very similar. Input, and then square brackets, name, exclamation point, which stands for not. Sometimes called the bang, for like, yeah. Name does not equal first name. All right. And third, select all inputs where the name begins with the letter F. So if we remember from our lesson, we're just going to select all inputs where the name starts with, or the caret symbol, I think the equals F. And just missing the square bracket there. For our fourth exit criteria, we need to write jQuery to select all inputs where the name ends with the letter T. So we've seen this before in the overview lesson. Name ends with, or $ equals T. Close these square brackets. Always put a semicolon, and then finally select all inputs where the name contains the letter V. So we can use our same input, name, and then star or wildcard equals V. And we'll give that a test. And looks like we didn't nail it the first time, so let's go and take a look. Is it because I didn't run getInput? Hopefully. No, so clearly I forgot the square bracket in the first one. All right, so that was it. Just a missing square bracket will throw off all your tests. So make sure you close all of your square brackets, and then it looks like we nailed it. All right, moving on to the final lesson for level 1 in jQuery. And it looks like this is actually all we're going to get to today. You know, just for the heck of it, we'll do a little preview into level 3. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to level 4 this week, but I do believe you can get through it, Antonio. You were really close as far as what I saw earlier. So let's just get through this, and then we'll be all done for this week. But then we'll hopefully make some more progress next week and move a little quicker. Let's see what it's asking us to do. Create an input element for each type specified in the list below. Input types: 1, text, password, radio, checkbox, submit, reset, button, and file. Okay. So it looks like we're going to have to be doing a little bit of HTML work here. Create an input element for each type specified. Okay, so first I'll just create a bunch of inputs with the type equals. And then we'll just close it off. And I'll just do Control-C, V, looks like 8 times. So now we at least have all those. And then I can just copy and paste each of these types into here like this. So just a little bit more efficient than retyping all of that. Checkbox, submit, reset, button, and file. Okay, so now we need to select each element pretty much. And it says we need a form filtered function in our main.js. And we'll just close that, and we just need to call it. Okay, so selecting. Okay, so jQuery, I believe the form filters are just used by using the, or are just selected by using the colon. So we'll go input colon text, and then we'll just copy this 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll do the same thing here. A little bit of efficiency. And we'll just give it a test, see if we nailed it. And it looks like we got it first time. So great job, guys. That one was a little bit nice, easy one to end on. Looks like a lot, but using copy and paste, you can kind of move around pretty quickly and get all these selected. Oh, Chris, so let's see if we remove this and give it a test. Okay, it looks like the tests were not looking for us to do that. So if you did, then good job, a little bonus. You got some practice creating input elements. I guess the only difference would be now all of our inputs show up here, which is kind of nice to be able to see. That's a radio, checkbox, a submit button, a reset button, regular button, and then a file upload element. And then these guys, that's the password, and that's just a regular input. It's kind of a cool way to see some results there. But again, if you didn't want to write the HTML, it would work that way as well. So yeah, that's about it. We'll go ahead and hit next and just see. Congratulations, we have finished the first part of jQuery, and that was pretty in depth. We covered a lot in that lesson. jQuery can be a little tricky. The syntax needs to be very specific. However, next week we'll be diving into jQuery events. So now we'll be capturing stuff like clicks on the page and mouse overs, hovering, that type of thing. So as I hover over the start button, you can see that a little shadow appears, and we can do cool stuff like that with jQuery. And you can change the CSS of elements, make things jump around on the page, and we'll be getting into that next lesson. More visual, more interactive. So I think it'll be pretty fun. Definitely join us next week for that. And thanks to everyone who was watching. Antonio, if you shoot me the code that you have now, I'll see if I can point you in the right direction and get you past that exercise. And then hopefully by next week you might even be all done. So that's all I've got. Again, you can always sign up for the prep course at prep.origincodecademy.com. And that will take you to the sign-in page. All you have to do from there is hit sign up, and then you can fill in your information and go ahead and get started. And then take a look on YouTube for all the past webinars, and maybe you can get caught up to us by next week when we go through jQuery events. So Christopher, see you tomorrow. Antonio, I'll talk to you a little bit later on Slack if you feel like doing some more work tonight. Otherwise, tomorrow, whenever you want to. And that's it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.